What a wonderful day to talk Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That's right, folks. We're back. A new ape movie is in theaters, and you know, I'm excited. I'm an ape fan. I've always been an ape fan. Arguably my favorite film franchise, and maybe just franchise in general. You can't tell by looking at the stuff behind me, but I love apes. I love Planet of the Apes, and I love everything that this universe has to offer. And I don't think, look, I've said it before, it might be kind of controversial, but it's the truth in what I believe in. I don't think they've made a bad film. Some of them aren't good, but it's a consistent franchise that has done very little wrong in the eyes of me. So the new one is here. This is from Wes Ball, who worked on the Maze Runner series. He also is developing the Legend of Zelda live-action movie, so you know this guy's got some nerd credit. And you can really tell that by the specific vision he had in mind for this movie. It's really cool to see that. You know, we are in a very inundated era where everything that's old is new again, and everything new is old again. So it's hard for a franchise that's been around since the 60s to properly stand out and be its own voice and do something creative and new that's not relying on the old hat, you know? And we just saw like a Ghostbusters movie come out the same year that's relying a lot on like the nostalgia and you remembering the things. And there is parts of that in this new Apes movie. There is. I'm not going to deny that. But it is handling it in a way that is so different than what nostalgia Beatty stuff has done before. I think this movie is really incredible. It's kind of subtly genius in its execution of what it wants to do with this material and how it wants to handle this material. It's the type of thing we don't often see when it comes to a long-running franchise, which is in your like 10th outing as a movie, maybe you don't want to shake up the formula. Maybe you just want to like play with the themes in a way we haven't seen before. I would very much hearken this to, and this might put some people off, how I felt about The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is my favorite Disney Star Wars film. One of my favorite Star Wars films, if not my favorite. I love that movie. And what that did was just tell you the things you know, but also be like, you have to choose your own story. You have to make this not about the legacy or about the other films. It doesn't matter. What matters is what we're doing now. And that's part of what this movie is about, which is so interesting. And Apes has always been a franchise that wants to talk about stuff, and there's so much to exploit and explore. It's been 8 years, 7 years since we had War for the Planet of the Apes, which was its own distilled version of like the Caesar mythology coming to the end. Well, this movie is about the ideology of Caesar and how it kind of becomes corrupted based on the people that use the power. It's a lot of just like, how do you like glorify a deity, and does that give you the excuse to do things a certain way, to behave a certain way? How does like a myth become legend, become myth, become legend, all that kind of stuff. Just the basic idea of like, how do we take a story that we've known for so long, and what do we do to change that to make it its own thing so it fits our needs? And there's a lot of interesting stuff you could explore from there. Like that is something people talk about in the real world, and when you mix the apes in there, there's a whole other thing. And there becomes like, I don't want to get too much into like the spoilers of it, but there's like this plot line. Who inherits the Earth? What should inherit the Earth? And like what faction of whatever should inherit this Earth? Was it rightfully theirs? Was it rightfully ours? That kind of thing. Which are very inherent themes that stay true to the science fiction nature of this universe and the core belief of like the people lying to you about what was or what is or what's going to be. That is like key fundamental things about Planet of the Apes. Right down to the original. You know, the old leaders of the old world, they were lying to its people about what civilization was before that. We are now generations removed from the events of Caesar and his time. The things we say there are being diluted and changed. That is just there from the beginning, and through it all is also like a really subtle coming of age story about this young ape named Noah who kind of has to go on a mission to avenge his family, save his people, and just like learn a little bit along the way. I'm not the first to make this comparison, but there are very clear elements in this movie that really like harken to the Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker relationship. Like key moments, you're like, oh man, That's so interesting because it gives it like more mythology to what we're doing here, and really like adds like when we introduce like the villains that take the Darth Vader role that like approximate the old thing we've seen before. It's very interesting. It's so creative in that aspect, and it's doing so many different things. The effects are amazing. Perhaps the best visual effects we have seen since Avatar: The Way of Water, which wasn't that long ago. But when you just think about some of the dreck we've had between those two movies, it's so nice to see just like a perfectly distilled vision by a person. This looks so good because no part of the CG was wasted. This is a cast and a crew who knew what they were doing. What do we have to say here, in what tone? How do we film this? What shots are we going to use? It is very perfectly storyboarded like that. So when you have that done, you don't just have actors looking at nothing, doing nothing. Everything feels real and earnest and wholehearted, and that gives it actual depth and interest and makes the effects work well. We can make good visual effects. We can. And sometimes we just see like the bigger corporations that want to change certain things whenever or why. They don't give us that. But it's kind of cool that in the past couple of years, 20th Century Studios has given us a great-looking Predator movie and a great-looking Planet of the Apes movie. You know that new Alien Romulus movie has to look incredible because that's exactly what we want as fans. And it is. And this script is so compelling. And the story, it takes its time, which I love when a movie does that. Especially on this caliber. It's like, don't force anything. We can go on this ride and this journey, and we're here for the characters. Like, name another blockbuster that's going to spend so much time just watching an ape discover, like, the sky and look at it through a telescope and, like, learn something about himself. Like, there's more to my world than what I've ever known. Like, the evolution of just knowing who you are, what you come from, what is anything. Like, it's so good at that. Just long sweeping shots of people on horseback, or apes on horseback, I guess. Just going to different locations and just talking to each other and communicating. Now, where I think there could be some points of contention with what the story does is the big sweeping stuff at the end, where it kind of like changes its tone to the big blockbuster, which it's what you've come to expect from modern apes. I feel like that's what they want to do now. It depends what you want from apes. Apes to me has always just been more about like looking on what we're doing at the time, whether it's just like racial issues, animal rights issues, or nuclear fallout issues and all that kind of stuff, and like shining a different light on that through a new lens. But it's also a franchise where there's a Jesus character leading a revolution to a people to usher in a new era. That is there too. It's not the best stuff of the franchise, but for some people it might be. And there's a lot of that in here too, with some great characters and some really incredible stuff. Once again, one of the classic tropes of the Planet of the Apes franchise comes to fruition, which is just that the human character and the ape character that are the leads have more chemistry with their respective counterpart or love interest that would be of their own species. Our two lead characters in here, you know, one of them is Noah, a fantastic young lead about this young ape trying to learn about his world. He is phenomenal and a very interesting character. He plays off of this young woman named Nova, or is there more to her? We won't get into. It's the young woman from The Witcher. It's really incredible. And you just like, these are two people just set in different ways where like there's so much about them that should be working together, but when they have to like go against each other and they have to like go to opposing forces or whatever is going to come between them, you buy it completely. There's just so much intensity and nuance to every situation that this young ape who has never experienced anything before, he's not going to know how to handle any situation. He's not going to make the right choices. He learns a lot. He has to go through stuff to become the person he's going to become. That also means meeting his Obi-Wan character, which is Raka, who's this orangutan that is really setting us up for a certain era that we're not there yet. But, you know, maybe we're slowly getting closer to a Dr. Zaius type of person. And that's cool. And Raka just shows up and is like, "Hi, hello there. I'm Obi-Wan. Here's the Journal of the Wills," and all that, and learn about Caesar and all that. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And then you have the, I guess, like, friends that are there with Noah. Soma, I think, is one of them, and Anaya. They are like his buddies, and they're fun and they look great. But the real standout, which it should be with almost every other Planet of the Apes movie, is the villain. Proximus Caesar is really cool because he is this ape learning so much about like human culture, and he wants to like make it about him and like misinterpreting like the ways of both Caesar and Roman empires and stuff to make it about himself. And he's just commanding and fierce and just greedy and a little dickhead, and it's just so brilliant to see that. Like, we have distinctive apes again. It's so cool to just like see the evolution, even just from like the previous trilogy, where we know what the apes look like. This one's Caesar, this one's Koba, this one's Maurice. Now it's like they're going to have like distinctive facial expressions. They're going to have individualistic clothing or just articles upon themselves, which is really cool to see. It's very specific, and it's just awesome for that. And it's just a really compelling story with great effects. And it's like we don't do this enough anymore with a long-running franchise. This is one of those franchises that just reinvents itself every time and tries something new and isn't afraid to try something new while sticking true to the original stuff. It's been so long since I'm watching a major blockbuster, and I'm seeing this very intimate moment about these three young teenagers just learning that they were lied to about their entire history, and it looks good and has great lighting in it and has great characteristics for each of the characters in it, and feels like this is an actual thing happening. That is so rare to see anymore, and it's just really cool to see that. And there are rumors, I know this, I think it's like confirmed or whatever, but like on the physical media release of this movie, they're going to do like an alternate version where they don't have any of the visual effects on, so you just see the people in the suits. And I'm like, yes, that's something you can only do when you have the entire thing laid out in your head, because then the shots look perfect. This is a passion project. This is something somebody has wanted to make for a long time. Somebody had an idea and they stuck to it, and that's what it is, whether you like this or not. And I'm sure there's going to be people that don't like it. This is someone's actual vision. This is somebody saying, like, I want to take what Caesar was, how he was, and distort it to the next generation. And they're going to be lied to. They're going to be perceiving things differently. How does that work? How do you do that? It's kind of brilliant and subtle in so many different ways, and this is just the perfect type of movie to explore that. It is a really strong Apes movie. It might be a little too slow for some people, but that's the point of this. It's just learning about this world and how there's lies in it, and there's corruption in it, and nothing's ever what it seems. But nothing looks like this. It's truly beautiful. I really like that the best looking movies of this year so far, in my opinion, things like Dune Part 2 and Planet of the Apes, are based on old science fiction properties. Like, if this could keep coming back, that'd be great. It's awesome just to see this world. It's really cool. I love it. I do love it. Amazing. Like, who doesn't want to see an ape on a horse with an eagle on its arm heading off into like the ruins of San Diego? Who doesn't want to see that? So, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I am going to give a 9 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you could check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.